Alok Niranjan Sabadukabanjan Bum Bihari Kabale Hamari Shambho Lagatiri Tambo Bum 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 Blut Blut Bum Shankar Bholenath Mahadeva Bum 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 Shivo Shivo Shivo.
Shiva means auspicious. He is regarded as the god of destruction. In Rig Veda, we find that the name Shiva was used in connection to Rudra. Rudra was perhaps the only devata whom the rishis feared. His untamed power of destruction was revered. During the Indus Valley excavations, a famous Pashupati seal was recovered. Pashupati means lord of animals. He is shown sitting in Padmasana, ithyphallic and wearing a horned headgear. Some say Rudra was the god of thunder, storms and violent atmospherical conditions. His raw power was feared. The Rudra Dhyaya is a soul-stirring hymn from the Vedas where Rudra is propitiated in 100 ways. It starts with the supplication, prostrations to thee, Rudra, prostrations to thy wrath and thy arrow which destroy evil, prostrations to thy bow, prostrations to thy mighty arms. O benefactor from the mount of Kailasa, that arrow which thou wieldest for aiming at enemies, make that benign in respect to us, harm not human beings or others in creation, O protector of the sacred mound. May that divine physician, first among gods, exalt me in his all-redeeming transcendent being, having cut off all evil, whether in the form of poisonous creatures and wild beasts or the demoniacal natures in creation. At the same time, Rudra is also described as the lord of divine bliss. This contrast in his nature is similar to the Greek god Dionysius. He had the same associated icons like Lord Shiva, carefree, bulls, snakes, furious anger. Some Greek texts from Alexander's time referred to Shiva as the Indian Dionysius. In the Vedic era, Rudra was also closely linked to Agni and sometimes identified as Indra or Prajapati. The Shetashvatara Upanishad mentions Rudra, Shiva and Maheshwara, three names commonly used for the same god, and contains key elements of Shaiva Dharma. In the Mahabharata, we find that even Lord Krishna had performed intense penance to please Shiva and Maheshwari. From the Vedic era, Upasana of Rudra bifurcated into two broad branches, one deriving its authority from Shruti and Smriti, another which did not adhere to the Vedic tradition. The non-Pouranika Saivism from the beginning of the Common Era was classified into Atimarga and Mantramarga. Atimarga, which meant extreme path, contained Pashupatas, Lakulas and Kalamukhas in its fold. From Mantramarga we had the evolution of Kaula and Trika Saivism of Kashmir. At the same time, Mantramarga also influenced Shaiva Siddhanta and branched off into the earliest Tamil Shaiva traditions. The Pouranika Saivism developed during the Gupta era, and today it is the most popular form of Shiva devotion. Philosophically, both monism and dualism were part of the Shaiva traditions, Abheda, Bheda, Bheda and Bheda, but the most ancient and primary division was certainly that of Atimarga and Mantramarga. Atimarga was the domain of ascetics and renunciates, while Mantramarga was open to all, including householders. Atimarga ascetics believed that one must aim only for liberation. Mantramarga believed in Krama Mukti. Krama means progressive, so progressive steps towards liberation. Siddhis or occult powers were considered legitimate in this path. These could be intelligently used to navigate the karma of an individual such that they may attain a higher birth and in this way eventually obtain salvation by the grace of Shiva. Bhoga and yoga go hand in hand till one enters to the doors of moksha. The Atimarga rituals were extreme and fit only for those who have left society. Some classify Atimarga as the true path of Rudra in all his untamable ferocity. The most legendary group of ascetics who belonged to the Atimarga sect were the Pashupatas. Their mention is found in the Mahabharata. Traces of Pashupatas have been found from ancient Afghanistan to Kashmir to Nepal. Almost all their scriptures are now lost, except the discovery of the Pashupata Sutras in the last century. Their main sadhana was the infamous Pashupata Mahavrata. This vrata is regarded as the fifth stage of life, Siddhasrama, and their shastras were called Vishesha Shastra, special texts. The ascetics who undertook this vrata aimed at breaking down all the fetters of consciousness. They would live in a deserted Shiva temple, smear their body with ashes. Their mode of Shiva Upasana would involve chanting, dancing, attahashas, loud laughter and drumming. In the next stage, he would worship Shiva using 5 mantras from the Yajur Veda, which eventually created the concept of the 5-faced or Panchamukha Shiva, and each of these 5 faces represented one of the 5 tattvas: earth, water, air, fire and Akash. In the next stage, he would go out and behave like a madman or a cripple or a beggar or engage in indecent behavior. Others, unaware that he was feigning this, would curse, abuse him, and disrespect him. In this manner, he would burn off his own karmas by not reacting to the mistreatment from society. After this stage is done and major karmas have been erased, next he would withdraw into a remote cave and immerse himself in intense meditation on Rudra until he attained uninterrupted awareness of Rudra's presence without the aid of any mantras. In this way, he became one with Rudra in his omnipotence and omniscience. This was liberation for the Pashupata, which he called Dukkhant or end of sorrow. He would not beg for food anymore, but consume only that which naturally came to him. Finally, during death, he would merge into Rudra's being and become one with him. This final act was but a grace of Rudra, for no amount of individual sadhana can achieve this. The second sect of Atimarga ascetics were called Lakulas. This branch was founded by Acharya Lakulisha from Gujarat. He was regarded as a part of Shiva. It is believed that Shiva entered into the dead body of a Brahmin whose corpse was kept in a cremation ground, thus reanimating him. Lakulisha became a modifier of the Pashupata system. Many things from earlier Pashupata systems were maintained as it is, with one important variation. Lakulisha broke away entirely from the Vedic tradition. He became an outsider to the mainstream Vedic world. The Lakulisha Pashupata would engage in the most feared of all vratas called the Mahapashupata Vrata. He would emulate the feats of Bhairava, the terrifying form of Shiva when he enters a cremation ground. And like Bhairava, the ascetic would roam around in deserted places or lonely cremation grounds carrying a khatvanga and a human skull as his begging bowl. He would survive by begging food and remain on the fringes of society for 12 years. It is believed Bhairava had done this penance after he decapitated Brahma's fifth head for lusting after his own creation. In this manner, the Mahavratin would emulate Bhairava externally so that eventually he became one with Bhairava internally. They were also known as the Kapala Vratins or the skull-bearing ascetics. A quotation from one of the Pashupata texts provide instructions for the Mahavratin. After his diksha, he should wander carrying a khatvanga, an alms bowl made of human cranium. His hair should be tied in a jata or completely shaven. He should wear a sacred thread made of snake skin and adorn himself with a necklace of human bones. He may wear nothing but a strip of cloth to cover his private parts. He must keep himself always smeared in ashes. He can eat and drink anything. No action is forbidden for him. His mind must be always immersed in Bhairava, for no other deity can save him from the sorrows of this world. The Lakulas had their own complex mystery traditions. The sadhakas ascended to various grades of reality until he reached the purely transcendental state. Each of these realms were lorded by a form of Rudra, the highest of whom was known as Rudra Dhruvesha. Today, the only surviving Pashupata temple is the holy Pashupatinath in Kathmandu, Nepal.